Before diving into this incredible story, remember to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, every story has something to say, and you won't want to miss a single one. It was a bright morning in Manhattan. The sun reflected off the glass facades of the buildings, and in the upscale neighborhood, luxury car dealerships were already bustling about, preparing to welcome their wealthiest clients. In one of them, Bradley Hensley, a man in his 50s, impeccably tailored in a suit and sporting a cocky smile, was finalizing the details of the new car display. Bradley had a reputation. He liked to judge his clients by their appearance, and those who didn't fit his idea of the elite were often subjected to condescending remarks. That day, he had no idea that an encounter was about to disrupt his routine. The door opened with a clink, and a woman entered. Vanessa Whitmore, a black woman in her 40s, moved with effortless grace. Her navy suit accentuated her confidence, her designer glasses reflected the light in the room, and every movement exuded control and power. At first glance, Bradley saw just another customer. But his sense of superiority compelled him to size her up and underestimate her. When she approached the counter and asked to see the most exclusive models, Bradley stared at her with a smirk. "Are you looking for something serious, or just a pretty toy to admire?" he asked, unaware that he had just made a fatal mistake. Vanessa, impassive, fixed her gaze on him. She sensed the arrogance that oozed from every word. But she didn't react immediately. Instead, she let a heavy silence settle in, a silence that already made Bradley uncomfortable, without him yet realizing it. As he continued to mock her inwardly, Vanessa made a slight movement, removing her glasses. The light revealed her face, and suddenly, Bradley's smile froze. He immediately recognized the woman before him, Vanessa Whitmore, billionaire and CEO of one of the largest technology companies in the United States, known for her influence, wealth, and formidable intelligence. His cheeks flushed red. His heart was pounding. The mockery, which he thought was harmless, had just become one of the biggest mistakes of his life. Vanessa, calm and majestic, stared at Bradley with a slight, cold smile. Her gaze clearly said, "You have made a grave mistake, Mr. Hensley." At that moment, Bradley understood that it was no longer about cars, but about a lesson he was going to pay for dearly. Bradley Hensley remained frozen for a few seconds, unable to look away. His usual arrogance had been replaced by a mixture of panic and shame. Vanessa Whitmore, standing before him, exuded control and power. Every gesture she made seemed calculated, elegant, yet charged with the natural authority that only someone with real power can radiate. "Mr. Hensley," she said in a soft but icy voice, "you know who I am, don't you?" Bradley swallowed hard. His eyes widened as he finally acknowledged the truth. The woman he had just scorned wasn't just rich, she was one of the most influential people in the country. Her company was worth billions, and she possessed an impressive network of contacts in every sector, political, financial, and technological. I don't," he stammered, unable to finish his sentence. Vanessa smiled slightly, as if to say she didn't need an apology for demonstrating her power. She approached one of the most luxurious models on display and delicately placed her hand on the shiny hood. "I intend to buy not one, but 3 of your most exclusive cars today." Bradley blinked in disbelief. His throat was dry, and every word he had uttered to belittle her a few minutes earlier came back to him like a boomerang. "3 cars," he stammered. "But I thought that." Vanessa raised a finger with perfect calm. "You thought I couldn't afford what you sell? That I didn't have the right to walk here and choose what I want?" Bradley shook his head, unable to find a word. His mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. Shame paralyzed him. Vanessa leaned slightly towards him and added, in a tone that left no room for negotiation, "And I want this transaction to be conducted with the utmost respect, Mr. Hensley. Any mockery, condescension, or arrogance on your part will be unacceptable." At that precise moment, Bradley understood that his usual arrogance was worthless here. The dealer who thought he was in charge had just received a lesson in humility that he would never forget. Vanessa left nothing to chance. She asked to see every car, meticulously inspected every detail, and asked pointed questions about the engines, the trim levels, and the options. Bradley, trembling at every moment, tried to answer correctly, but the ghost of his recent insults haunted him. As she signed the final contract for the 3 vehicles, Vanessa looked up at him and simply said, "Mr. Hensley, I hope this experience will remind you that you should never judge a book by its cover, and never underestimate a black woman." Bradley nodded slowly, his face red and his mind troubled. He had just received his first lesson, and it came from the most unexpected person. The following days were a nightmare for Bradley Hensley. Vanessa Whitmore, true to her reputation as an organized and methodical woman, had decided to leave nothing to chance. Rather than simply buying her cars and leaving, she set up a complete inspection of the dealership, accompanied by her team of consultants and automotive experts. On the morning of the inspection, Bradley arrived early, thinking he could minimize the damage. But as soon as he saw Vanessa's team enter, he knew the situation was about to spiral out of control. Each consultant carried a detailed report, and Vanessa walked at their head, imposing silence and respect in every corner of the showroom. "Mr. Hensley, I think you need a little review of your behavior and business practices," Vanessa said, with a polite but razor-sharp smile. Bradley tried to smile, to regain some semblance of authority, but his words rang hollow. The employees looked at him with curiosity and a hint of contempt. The dealer who thought he was in charge was now being exposed by the customer he had dared to humiliate. Vanessa inspected every car she had ordered. Every missing or poorly presented detail was noted. The finishes, the cleanliness, the custom options, everything was examined with relentless rigor. Bradley had to answer every question precisely, under Vanessa's watchful eye. Every hesitation cost him confidence and credibility. But the most humiliating blow came when she decided to publish a discreet but effective report on her experience in her own company and with trusted partners. She mentioned the disrespect and arrogance she had suffered, without ever explicitly naming Bradley, but leaving enough clues for the story to circulate in the small circle of luxury car dealers and buyers. Soon, Bradley began receiving calls from potential clients canceling their visits, others questioning his attitude. His reputation, which he thought was solid, crumbled in a matter of days. The lesson was clear: underestimating someone because of their skin color or appearance could be very costly. Vanessa, for her part, remained implacable but elegant. After finalizing all her transactions and verifying that each car perfectly matched her standards, she gave Bradley one last look, imbued with power and coldness. "I hope this experience has taught you something valuable. Arrogance and contempt have no place here, or anywhere else." Humiliated and silenced, Bradley nodded, knowing he had just learned one of the greatest lessons of his life. He understood that his career and reputation would never be the same again. A few weeks after Vanessa Whitmore's visit, Bradley Hensley's dealership began to feel the effects of his own arrogance. Loyal customers had started to notice an unusual tension, employees were whispering amongst themselves, some seemed nervous, and visits were becoming less frequent. Business, once booming, was slowing down. Bradley was trying to regain control, but every move was clumsy. Sales weren't taking off, and he could feel the weight of his colleagues' and clients' stares. News of his confrontation with Vanessa was circulating discreetly in the city's influential circles. It was now known that he had dared to mock a black billionaire woman and that he had paid the price. One morning, Vanessa decided to move on to the final phase of her lesson. She arrived at the dealership, alone this time, but with a calm that hinted at a silent storm to come. Bradley, surprised to see her again, felt his heart race. "Mr. Hensley," she said in a measured but firm tone, "I have heard that some things have not changed here." Before he could reply, she continued, "I've decided to entrust your cars to my teams for a special project. They will be exhibited at several events where my partners and clients can see your work and your mistakes." Bradley paled. Not only did he have to maintain the cars to the required level of perfection, but every flaw would now be publicly visible to influential clients. Vanessa had transformed her cars into teaching tools to demonstrate the importance of respect and humility. But that wasn't all. Vanessa made sure her teams left subtle comments and notes about the dealership's organization, which were then shared on forums and professional networks within the luxury automotive industry. Bradley's reputation quickly plummeted. Other dealers, previously indifferent to his behavior, began to view him with suspicion and mistrust. Alone in his office, Bradley felt the weight of his actions for the first time. His condescending laughter, his hasty judgments, and his contempt for Vanessa came back to haunt him. He understood that uncontrolled arrogance can be not only humiliating, but destructive. As she left the dealership, Vanessa gave him one last look. She hadn't said anything more, but her silence spoke louder than any words. The lesson had been learned, but the impact would be lasting. Bradley stood there, frozen, aware that nothing would ever be the same again. A few months later, Bradley Hensley's dealership was no longer what it had been. The prestigious clients who once flocked there to acquire the rarest models now avoided the place. Bradley's name circulated in luxury car circles, no longer as a talented dealer, but as an arrogant man who had been humiliated by a customer he had dared to disdain. One morning, Bradley received an unexpected call. It was Vanessa Whitmore. Her voice, always calm and composed, came through the receiver with an authority Bradley now knew well. "Mr. Hensley, I hope you are prepared to correct a few things." She had just launched a philanthropic project combining her company and Bradley's dealership. But here was the condition: Bradley had to completely overhaul its customer and staff management practices, under the direct supervision of Vanessa and her consultants. Any shortcomings would be immediately reported to its partners and the professional community. Humiliated and aware that his career now depended on Vanessa's will, Bradley accepted. Every decision he made was now scrutinized, every word, every gesture analyzed. His reputation could only be rebuilt with patience and humility. The day Vanessa returned to finalize the collaboration, she observed the change. Bradley was no longer the same man. He was more attentive, more respectful, and above all, aware of the value of each client, regardless of their appearance. Before leaving, Vanessa placed her hand on Bradley's shoulder and said, "You've learned a difficult lesson, but I hope it will serve you well for the rest of your life. Arrogance can make you lose everything you think you possess. Respect, on the other hand, costs nothing and brings everything." Bradley watched Vanessa leave the dealership, and for the first time, he felt a mixture of admiration and deep regret. The experience had changed him, and he knew he could never go back to the man he had been. The story of this confrontation quietly spread throughout the business world, becoming a powerful example of humility and unspoken justice. Vanessa Whitmore continued to thrive in her field, while Bradley Hensley learned the hard way that underestimating someone because of their skin color or appearance could cost far more than just a car sale. Thus ended the story of an arrogant car dealer confronted by the greatness of a black woman whose name and reputation could not be ignored. A life lesson, forever etched in his mind and in the history of his career.